Hello, welcome everybody to our next webinar or our second webinar on Microsoft Teams for the week where my name is Ziad Paracha and I am an account executive at Encore Business Solutions. We're a gold Microsoft partner, and today we're going to talk about one of the tools that we can use to work from home and work remotely, the tool that we actually use internally at Encore for our corporate communications, internal projects, and so many sites and groups that we create from Teams, and something that we think we can offer you guys, in the recent light of things and how people are now working remotely as well as working from home, to be able to utilize as well. So Microsoft has actually emphasized a great deal of new releases and additions and offerings around Microsoft Teams in light of everything that's happening, and we thought we'd share that out with and do part in the community and share that out with our users. So the question again is, what is Microsoft Teams? Again, in the short brief description before we dive into it in depth, Microsoft Teams is basically a chat-based workspace within Office 365. It's Microsoft's hub for teamwork. It's supposed to bring, clients, bring people together. It's supposed to bring, conversations and the content and the tools that we need to collaborate on a day-to-day basis into an online platform, as well as one that you can download on your device depending on license. So in essence, it's the idea that different teams have different needs, and each one of those needs that are unique to those groups can be accommodated within Microsoft Teams. Now, before we begin, we just have a quick poll around how many of you guys are actually utilizing Teams. Then I'll have Melissa send out right away. So if you can answer that poll real quick and we can do the results. In the meanwhile, I'll tell you guys a little bit about what Encore is and does. And so Encore has been around. We're just celebrating our 30th anniversary, and we do a whole bunch of things outside of just Teams and training, things like that. Some of our clients are around the dynamic space with Business Central or Nav, CRM, CE, so on and so forth. We also have a BI practice that does a lot of dashboarding and reporting. And of course, Office 365. So we as a gold partner, we're accredited to do kind of anything that Microsoft really offers. So we've got offices all throughout North America, and I'm currently out of our Alberta office, but we are local to many different regions throughout North America as well. All right, let's see if we've got some results in from that poll, and we can go from there.
Yeah, so let me see, I'll just close it now. We've got 85% of you voted. So for yes, currently using Teams, 68% said yes,
Sure.
and 32% said no. So
fantastic. So we'll throughout the demo, I'll kind of share some new things as well as things that that you guys may already be using. So feel free to message in your questions in the chat box or ask those questions at the end, and we can triage it that way. I'd like to start with this slide around, what is actually happening to kind of give you a feel of where we're going with Microsoft Teams. And over the past couple of years, we really started to see a major change in the modern workplace and the way that people actually work. And organizations have actually evolved to be able to provide different ways of working, whether it be remote, whether it be working from home, whether it be working in the office or even across the globe, to provide and be able to cater to the trends that they're seeing. And as well with those trends, there are some challenges that come up. So Microsoft's response to this idea of having 4 times as many devices per user, well, for example, you can use your phone, you've got your tablet, you've got a desktop, you've got maybe a MacBook sitting at home, you got a whole bunch of different devices that you actually utilize and work on. It's not just the one device anymore. We also see that there is a lot of people actually working remotely. So from the last couple of years to where we are now, about 72% of the workers are working remote. And in light of what's happened recently with the pandemic, I mean, imagine that number to be quite much higher as well. As well as within the workforce that we're working, there are multiple generations, a diverse amount of people working together. So we've got, the baby boomers still working, as well as, millennials and Gen X, Gen Y, and all the way to the newer generations, the Gen Z as well. They're all working together for the first time ever in the same workforce. And that's huge, right? Because you're working with different tools, different levels, and different expertise, different knowledge bases. And there's a lot of collaboration that has to exist, which leads me to the next point is we're actually working on twice as many teams as we used to. So we've got now people working on 2 different departments. We've got people playing multiple roles, and it's coming to a point where 80% of our time that we spend is actually spent collaborating with teams or with different groups. And obviously, we need a system or a product that can actually accommodate that. Because what we realize, and being in the industry for 30 years, we've realized that really there is no one size fit all solution. You need to have a flexible product that could do that. And after assessing a whole bunch of products, one of our favorite products to kind of promote as a tool that can help you work from home is Microsoft Teams. So this idea of if an organization invests in Microsoft Teams, you're able to see over time 5 times more higher performing teams once you invest in collaboration or teamwork, right? So more around geographical as well, so you can share those meeting invites and work with teams from across the globe. So if you've got different offices like we do, we've got an office in Vancouver, in Calgary, Winnipeg, Seattle, and Portland. If you can communicate with all of those different time zones and people working in different areas seamlessly. Microsoft Teams is celebrating their 3rd-year anniversary, so it's still a fairly newer product, and that means there's obviously new features coming in all the time that are very trendy and market active in the market. But still, being that it's only still it's actually one of the most this has got the most daily active users at 44 million. And over just the last 8-9 days, we've added over 12 million users and logged more than 90 million minutes and calling minutes. So obviously this product, Microsoft Teams is working in organizations, more than 150,000 organizations. It's the top choice for 93 of the 114 companies that use Microsoft Teams. And really Microsoft Teams stands on 4 pillars. The first is the chat and calling functionality that comes within Teams. So it's the ability for you to be able to communicate and collaborate with that diverse workforce through using some functionality that actually used to exist within Skype and now been adopted into Teams. The next pillar is around the Office apps and the integration between Teams and the Office 365 applications, such as, these are apps that you use all the time, such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Power BI, even Dynamics, and so on and so forth. So all these other applications that you use on a daily basis now are integrated seamlessly within Teams. There's also a customizing component to Teams, so you can actually, again, on that idea that every team is kind of a little bit different, you can actually customize your Teams interface to suit the way that you work. For example, you can pin different tabs, you can have connectors and bots depending on how you like to work. There's also other capabilities that you can enable in higher performing teams, or disable if you don't want to make it too complicated of a product or that you feel that it would be. So those are, again, there are some customizing abilities and having different extensions and other third-party apps that you can put in there. And then, of course, the 4th pillar being around the enterprise level compliance and security that you would expect from Office 365. So from our first pillar, like I said, Teams has evolved to a complete meeting experience, a complete modern meeting experience with chat, instant messaging, right, voice calls, as well as video conferencing with private, so one-on-one type of conversations, or even group conversations, and you can have multiple users on that. There are abilities to even have dial-in features, so you can have someone dial into a meeting as well as dial out. So basically, you can call people directly through a dial pad. Of course, over time, we see that the capabilities of using Teams in a home environment, for example, working from home, is fantastic because of the online capabilities. So you can, right now I'm working from home and I'm utilizing Teams to carry out the demonstration and stuff that we're going to be having. So it's very important to be able to use those tools to help you stay connected with your work and the people that work with you as well. The next pillar around Office 365 integrations. So there are co-authoring abilities here where you can share a document, even if you're not in the same office. You can actually share that out in a conversation or in a team or in a channel or in a project that you're working together. So work doesn't actually get hindered or stopped. You kind of can continue the work that you're doing. And you can co-author on there. There's abilities for you to share files. There's abilities for you to, perform other lightweight tasks as well that you can do through OneNote or SharePoint. And basically, there's actually connections and integrations between Outlook as well, so you can integrate from Outlook to Teams as well. The idea here is to basically have a central system where you can log in. So at Encore, the first thing that we open up is Microsoft Teams, and majority of the work that can be done actually can get done within Microsoft Teams. So one of the tools that we definitely recommend for our users. And the third pillar being around customizing your Teams interface, and that being you can tailor that workspace to suit the way that you work. And there are different channels that you can set up, for example, and have designated spaces to have conversations on certain topics. There are, for example, quick references that you can do. There are abilities for you to get third-party applications, and I'll show you a list of third-party applications that are, without you having to integrate or customize anything on it. It's built into Teams, and you can just directly do that. As well as you can interact with bots, and that uses natural, language and query for you to be able to perform some tasks on as well. I've talked most about security. I think there's a lot of it includes on the licenses as well, but just a high level around, some standards that are included like HIPAA compliance, it's SOC, EU model clauses are all, within Microsoft Teams, and they're compliant, as well as you can actually add mobile management with Microsoft Intune. There's other features. So the idea that I'm trying to express here is you can actually start, from the basics, and I'll talk about, what the adoption would look like for you, and then grow that, Teams to be an enterprise level solution for you and your entire company as well. Most of you who have Office 365 would be able to use Microsoft Teams because it's already embedded in your product, and today's demo will show you some of the things that you can do and walk you through that. So there are some things that are new to Teams that are just over the last month have been rolled out. One of those, again, like I mentioned, was the Office integrate or the Outlook integration within Teams. The other is the creation of mentions and mentioning tags. So the idea that, for example, you can create a tag that involves a couple people, and you can anytime you roll out that tag or mention that tag, everyone that's a part of that tag can get informed and updated and notified. There's also the ability for you to check out or check in files. So if you want to work on a file, you don't want anyone accessing it in that time, you can check it out and put it back in. You can also disable any of these functionality and restrict that from happening as well. Then I talked about customizing apps so that you can pin it onto your toolbar, and I can show you how you do that. And then there's obviously some new things coming up in the next little while as well around noise suppression feature, which is about to come out to help minimize any distracting noises. Like, for example, if you're typing on your keyboard and while you're in a meeting taking notes, the AI technology in Teams can actually get rid of that noise. Or if your kids are yelling in the background, or if there's a vacuum cleaner working or anything else that's going on while you're working from home, Teams can actually suppress those noises and eliminate it completely as well. And that functionality is being rolled out. Another one being around, you can do background blurs still right now currently, where your entire background gets blurred out using the AI technology. An add-on to that feature is that it can automatically now replace the background. So for example, if you're working at home, in your bedroom, and you've got a big mess going on in the back because you've been working so hard, you can actually replace that background with, a commercial office space or something in the background that makes it look like you're not where you actually are. So some cool features that are being rolled out to help in that work from home type of environment. Now the adoption curve really is, I mean, if you haven't gotten started yet, for the people that took that poll, and we're going to send you a follow-up email with how you can sign up for free for Microsoft Teams, as well as we can help you in terms of setting that environment up, getting started and rolled out, and I'll leave my contact information near the end for you to reach out. But basically, once you get started and signed on to Microsoft Teams, we really recommend using Microsoft Chat, like Teams chats, channels, and applications first as an adoption rollout. Jump into meetings and conferences, probably very similar timeline, a very close timeline between the two, and then add any voice or domestic calling plans or international calling plans that you may need to actually have a PSTN number or anything like that on it. So this is kind of, again, the timeline of this adoption can be, a couple days, and it can also be, a couple weeks. Really, it doesn't really take too long to set up that environment. And we've set this up for our clients all the time. In fact, we were just doing trainings with a client right now. We offered, our client some trainings who was trying to get something started, and as one of our offerings that we provide, we will help our clients in a billable engagement to be able to set up this environment and do trainings and make sure their users are up to speed and so on and so forth. So if there are people that are looking to do that, we'd love to help out as well. Now, let's walk through this demo that I have for you as well. And I can walk you through what it would look like. So if you go to portal.office.com, right, that's where you would be able to see and log into, if you've already signed up, log into your account, you should come up with this particular screen. So these are for people who already have Microsoft Teams. For those that don't have Microsoft Teams yet, there is a free version that is available, and I can actually show that slide first. And there is a link that we will send out, like I said, in the follow-up email. So if you want to get started with Teams, just go to Microsoft's website, write in Teams, and we can send out these links later on to set that up. And it's, I think, free till end of September or something like that as well. And then you'd be able to log into the portal. And if you are already logged into this portal, I'm going to use the Teams online functionality today just so everyone can access it. And you click Teams. It will take you to kind of the home page of where when Teams gets launched. From here, you'll notice that there's a bunch of different tabs and things that are present. I'll start from the top here and work my way down. The first tab is around activities. Now, within activities, you basically get to see all of the different news feeds or mentions, or anytime you get kind of called out on any of the teams, it pops it up in here. You also see any activities. So if someone's updated, and you can change, you can filter through basically all the different types of functionality or all the different types of activities or notifications that you'd like to receive, so you're not getting bombarded with them. And you can filter through different types of mentions or replies or anything like that you get. So this is kind of like, if you think in social media, where you get all your notifications, your highlights. This is where you get all your alerts, so on and so forth. The next component of it is in the chats functionality. Now, if you've already got Teams rolled out for your company, if you go into contacts, you will see a whole bunch of contacts listed here. Because this is a demo environment, I don't have any contacts here, but I can show you how you can still work and basically have instant messaging capabilities within Teams. So if you click this pencil right here on the top, it says new chat. You can also do that when you join a conversation as well. So if I click this, I can now enter any person in my organization or anyone that I've shared out the contact with to be able to create a conversation. So for example, I want to have a conversation with Johnny, right? and I just put his name in, and all the people, you know, that have the name Johnny will pop up. Or if I just put D, for example, all the people that have their name starting with D or have a D in their name will pop up, and I can actually look through my directory to contact them. On that note, I can also create a group. So if I wanted to have a group and have multiple people, I can do that, or not, by just hitting this button here. As well as if I hover over Johnny, I could see a whole bunch of details around, okay, well, who's Johnny? You know, is she online or offline, right? So right now, obviously, we don't have, she's offline because it's a demo environment. You can also see other statuses, like whether she's online. For example, myself, you could see that I'm available. There are also busy, do not disturb, so on and so forth, and you can change these statuses to kind of suit your availability. If I hover over Johnny again, I could see, you know, the title, the company, location, as well as contact information that I can either instant message or I can open up an email. And when I open up an email, you could see that, you know, it gets populated already right through the email. As well as if I do voice calls or video calls, I can access, you know, I can communicate with her directly through there, or send her a message through here. Hi, Johnny. And that message now is sent. Now within the chat space, I can go into and actually write out a full email or section of conversation as well with all the formatting abilities. I can change its, you know, urgency or importance. I can add attachments, whether it be pictures, videos, links, or files in general that are synced also to your OneDrive or other cloud storage spaces, as well as directly from your file folders. And of course, there's all this fun stuff that you can do as well with emojis and GIFs and other stickers that are out there as well. Now, if I wanted, you know, Johnny's not available right now. If I wanted to book an appointment with her or maybe a meeting, I click this sign here. That's one way of doing it. The other way is actually to go into your calendar and book a new meeting, but this is a quicker way of doing it right from here. So if you click this button right here, it says schedule a meeting, and now it gets populated with, you know, Johnny's information. I can add a title, right? Maybe I want to talk about a project, right? So let's say project X, and I've got, you know, why not right now? I want to meet right now. Or you can change the dates and times as you need. It could be an all-day meeting event, so on and so forth. You can also change the occurrence in that meeting. So if you want that meeting to be, you know, once and that's the only time you want it, or every day, maybe you want daily check-ins, weekly check-ins, and this is great for, you know, if you've got staff working from home, you might want to set up some weekly check-ins just to make sure that everyone in your staff has all the tools that they need or are doing okay, because it's a big change to, you know, to transition through. You can also have custom, you know, reoccurrences where you you know, can change depending on when you want the occurrence to start and stop as well. Now, one other really cool feature is the scheduling assist. So if you go into the top hand here, right beside detail, there's scheduling assist. And you can see all the times that, for example, Johnny's available in this particular time. But if I had a meeting here, now it'll tell me that she's already tentatively booked at this toys project. And so she may not accept my meeting invite. Maybe she's not available. But over here, completely available. I can also add more attendees in this time. So if, let's say I want to add Megan, and now I can see, okay, great, Megan does, you know, her calendar pops up and her availability pops up, and I can, based on that availability, I can, you know, move my meeting around to suit that. My availability obviously is there as well. Okay, so once I've done that, and you can send optional attendees and stuff too if you want, but once you do that, you can just send the meeting invite, and now that meeting invite has been sent, and I can check that meeting invite on my calendar, which is again on the left-hand side here, which is integrated with your Office 365 Outlook accounts as well. So you can integrate that within that, and there is that meeting right there, Project X, and I've got 2 people attending that meeting whose statuses are unknown, right? And I can update or change the meeting from there. Now within this meeting, you'll notice in the email, I didn't put any descriptions in, but it still populated a meeting invite. Now this is how you would join a meeting. You would click this link which says join the meeting, or you can dial in if you've got dial-in functionality as well, and put in the conference ID, and you can dial in via a mobile phone. And you can also, again, do it online, and you don't need a license. So if you're doing a Microsoft Teams meeting to someone who doesn't have Microsoft Teams, but they have an email account like Hotmail or Gmail, if people use those, right, or Yahoo or whatever, you can actually, sign on still for free, right? So I can join the meeting from here. Users would see this part sent in an email and notified. I could also, again, move my meeting around if I need to. There's meeting minutes. So if I was to join the meeting and take meeting minutes, they would show up here, as well as whiteboard capabilities that I could see all the whiteboard transactions that take place, all within the calendar view of the meeting invite, right? And of course, you can change, the different how you want to see the calendar. You can join on, add a new meeting from here as well, take you back to that, create a meeting thing and how you want to do it. You can also have live events from here. You can meet now if you want to do a quick one-on-one with someone they're available, right? You can also, while you're in a meeting, let's say we join this meeting now, I've disabled audio and video just so it doesn't disturb our demo today. But you could, when you turn those on, it'll go in right away. And so I will mute myself and the video, but you can obviously turn on the camera and or your audio, change the devices, so on and so forth. Once I join the meeting, you'll see that you kind of come into this page. So we're waiting for others to join. How do I know who I'm waiting for? If you click this show participant, you'll see all the people who haven't responded yet because they're actually not real people in this domain, but I can ask them to join urgently. Hey, you think you might have missed a notification. By the way, these guys get notified as well. I can also see and create chat and conversations. So you can actually, within here, have full conversations around, hey team, let's get work done, right? So on and so forth. You can add attachments here as well that you can upload here to people to work on collaboratively. And same thing, all that fun stuff still exists, right? And you can have different apps and stuff that you share. Maybe you want to share a URL from YouTube, a video, you can put that in there, right? Then you go to this Eclipse here. I can start recording a session. So let's record this meeting with that I have with Megan and Johnny. And that gives you a pop notification saying, hey, your meeting is being recorded. And of course, if you have privacy policies set up and things like that, you could do that. You can also share screens. If I click share screens, it will pop up with all the different screens that I can share. Particular files, so I've got some PowerPoints opened up, so I can do that. And any other ones as well, I can scroll down. There may be other applications that I can share as well. Now, if you click any one of these, you can only share that particular screen. But if you click share screen, a desktop or a window, it'll ask, okay, which screen do you want to share or which desktop? And now in this case, you can add as many files as you would like on your screen, and you should be able to share, multiple files at once without having to, constantly stop sharing and sharing again. Okay, and then obviously the mute and cameras are there as well that you can always do. It's nice to do. And then if I want to stop recording, and this is where your meeting minutes would be once you take them, right? So you can start taking notes. There's some capabilities built in here. You can have meeting minutes or agendas set out like that, so that everyone's kind of collaborating in the same loop. Within that sharing screen functionality, there's also, the ability to whiteboard or use freehand. So if you use whiteboard, you can basically, you can whiteboard in front with your colleagues while in meetings or externally, right? And I'm using my mouse, so it's not that great, but if you have a Surface Pen or something like that, you can use those to actually whiteboard ideas on here as well. And again, would be recorded, sent out, so on and so forth. So let's stop recording and we'll end the meeting. So let's stop recording, got it, and we'll end the meeting by closing it. So we've left the screen. And now if you notice within my meeting, Project X, it gives me an audit trail of everything that was taking place. So for example, who had joined, who had left, what happened, what we talked about, some of the chat conversations that we had, the notes that we took, as well as the recording. So if we click the recording, you can actually, open this in, because the demo is not going to open, but open it in Microsoft Stream, right, and things like that. And you can view the recording. So people that may not have been able to join the meeting or were present at that time can actually view it at a later time and get up to speed with the notes as well as the meeting. So again, great functionality if you're working from home, because sometimes you can't obviously go out and join a meeting, and maybe people are working from different offices, and so you can kind of get updated even if you're working in different time zones, different locations, so on and so forth. Okay, Let's jump into the Teams functionality now. So these are teams. So these are teams I've already pre-created for you guys before the demo. But here is, you know, some of the teams that you create, and I can show you how you create them. So if you go to join or create teams on the bottom here, and you can either click, you know, create a team or join via code, and I'll show you where you can get that. So if you have a code to a team, you can join it. But there's different types of teams that you can create. There's private teams, public teams, and organization-wide teams. So if I want to build from a custom team that I've already created before from Office 365, such as these ones here, I could use the same template so that everything is exactly the same, or I can build from scratch. In this case, we're going to build from scratch, and it shows you the 3 different types of teams that you can create. So if we go into you know, private teams, that's only for people, you know, if you just want to have a small group, that only people who get invited to the team can join. You can have public teams, so you can actually search for a code, or if it just be a team that everyone in your organization can join, as well as you can share this to you know, external people as well. And then you've got org-wide teams, which means just anyone in your entire organization can join it. This is great for if you have, like, you know, company policies, or if you are having any, you know, like for example, around working from home, what the policies are going to be, some tips and tricks that you want to share for the entire organization, you can do that through here. So let's create private teams for this particular demo, and we can just say, you know, teams demo, you know, training, for example, right? And oops. And within that, now I can add a description, you know, within here, and click create. Next, they'll ask me, well, it's got the team set up, and I can add different people into this team. Right now, I've got nobody added onto this team. So I can do that through the first few things that pop up here, or if I click on this ellipse again and go into manage teams and or just add member. Okay. So if I go into manage team, I can add a member from here. Let's say I want to add Deborah, I want to add Megan, I want to add Joanne, right? Add them. Now, they will ask me, do they want them to be members or owners? And I'll talk a little bit about that. So owners are basically people that can run and manage the entire team. So I've made Megan an owner, whereas Joanne and Deborah are just members. They're a part of the team, but they can't do any of the admin stuff on the back end to set up teams and things like that. I can grant them access to do certain things. And then if you add an email in here for someone that maybe isn't in your organization, they will join on as guests. And of course, we can see who's a member and guest down here, so people that are internal or external. And you notice there's tags over here. So I haven't put any tags or created any tags, but if I wanted to add Deborah to a tag that I do, I can create a tag and basically add the people that I want. So for example, I want to, you know, talk to all the people that are on sales, right? Or, you know, or all the people working from home, for instance, right? And then I can tag all the people that are doing that, and the tags will be created. And anytime I tag work from home, all those people get notified in the activities tab here. Okay, so I've added numbers. Then if there are people that want to join the team, you'd see the pending requests here. Obviously, no one wants to join this team yet. We just created it. Any channels that you create, right, which are basically these. This is a team. The general is one of the channels. You can add more channels here as well from here. But if I add a channel, for example, we want to have another channel for, you know, we can probably have a channel for, you know, water cooler, right? So just talking about some fun stuff, add that in. Now the channel will be created here, and I can have different posts mentioned here. For example, we can have, you know, toilet paper going up there, right? We can, again, see those posts down here, videos, anything that's shared, who's sharing them, right? We can have files being shared, and I'll show you tabs where we can actually, where I've actually have uploaded files, and you can create more tabs here as well. So there are different applications that you can have, third-party integrations within a tab. There are some couple examples here. For you to be able to put on and work in other things. So this is great for customizing your work. So in case you work with, you know, other tools like Flow, or, you know, other kind of projects or anything like that, you can actually put on the channel here, Power BI dashboard, so on and so forth, and you'd be able to see that. So for instance, if I go into Power BI and you know, use that, maybe I want to have just a tab that's there to show you all the progress that, you know, different teams are doing, or maybe you know, show how different projects have been doing. So here's my operations analytics. I'm not sure if there's going to be actually data that I've created in that one or another one. But if there is data in this one, you can be able to see, there is full dashboard of, all the different metrics that I've measured. And these are all real time. So if I wanted to, for example, look at my North America and Central America operations, it will real-time data changes, right? If I want to look at all the applications that are related to phone, I can see my revenue for just phones, revenue for just photography, so on and so forth, right? You can, it interacts in real time, and now that's just a tab. So anytime I'm in this, well, I'm not sure why I would put that in the water cooler, but if I was to, anytime I'm here, I've got a tab for operations, and I can get real, up to speed data in real time right away, right? So really, really cool functionality here. Another thing is, let's go into the actual, let's go into seeing some files. If I go into my files component or tab here, I can actually create new files, any of these files. And if you notice, if I create one of these files, right, it actually gets created within Teams. I don't have to open a separate Word document, or I don't have to open up a separate window. It opens within Team. I can use and operate just like I would normally on Word, and have the files being shared and saved right here. And I can collaborate with the team here, and anyone who makes changes, there'll be notification here saying, hey, so-and-so has made this change. You can have a conversation, so there's a chat functionality there again, so with all the details like we had normally within Teams that you can't even do with Word in general. And then of course, if let's say that Teams thing is now being saved by, just a few seconds ago, if I click here, I can actually have a link, and I can send a link to this document to someone else to be able to access, as well as I can, like I mentioned before, make this a tab, or open it in SharePoint, move it to another folder, or check out or check in this file. This is a new feature that's there. So if we go into more and check out, now that file will be checked out, and now I can work on it. And then as soon as I'm done working on it, I can either check that file back in with my changes or comments that I've had, or if I've done that accidentally, I can just cancel the checkout, right? And that's that. I can also create folders and or delete folders. So if I wanted to delete this particular folder, all the data goes away, yes, and that's deleted. Alternatively, you can add a folder and say, okay, great, I want to add a folder for Teams and organize some of my tiles here, and I can move these files now into this folder. Okay. Okay, next you can also, even from within here, again, upload files from elsewhere. You can synchronize it with other accounts, like other, oops, sorry, don't want to sync right now, it'll take a long time. You can copy a link to this particular folder. You can add cloud storages, so different storages that you might have access to, that you may have, you're personally using, and then, you're using one for work. You can now connect the two, just so you can, while you're working from home, can access all of those things, as well as you can take any of these documents and integrate that with Outlook, right? So you can also see them differently. So for example, in lists, you can have them viewed in a compact list and or tiles, depending on how you like to view your documents. So that's the Teams functionality. Again, you can manage the team through here as well, different channels, right? You can change that, restrict that. You can go into settings and actually see, okay, there's a team picture we can add. We can change the permissions of members and how much they can access. So maybe we don't want them to, be able to create or delete and restore channels. Maybe I only want owners to be able to do that, so I can change those settings through here. Also for guest permissions, if I want guests to be able to create channels or delete channels, I can change those settings here. Mentions and tags. There's the team code that I was talking about. So if I copy this team code, right, I can go into, going to my team here, enter this code, and now I can join that team, and it'll take me to that team. And now I'm part of this team, right, which is where that code was from. Back into this setting and manage team, go into settings. You can restrict the fun stuff too. If you don't want to have that kind of thing going on, you can, block out some of that content, and same thing with tags. Now this analytics component of things, you may not see a whole bunch if you don't have admin access, or if there's not much activity going on here. You would be able to see some insights on here. You can also do this on your admin center, which I will leave for another day. as well as applications that you've downloaded or tagged into your team. You can add more apps through here. And of course, there's a wide range of different apps you can have: SurveyMonkey, Evernote, right? Power BI, like I mentioned. There's different capabilities for you to be able to get a whole bunch of different, hundreds of them, for free. And of course, there are some that you may need to have signed, you may have user sign-ins and things like that you may have to sign up for. But other than that, if you've got access to it, they're all going to be part of your teams. Last thing I will share with you before we go on to questions is the call functionality. So you can obviously, if you have calling plans, you'd have a dial pad here that you can make a call with. I don't have a dial pad here in this particular demo because not every license will. However, within your organization or within the teams that you create, you can actually have conversations. So for example, Megan, if I just type her name, I can audio call her or video call her. And now it's calling Megan. And all the functionality is still there. Now Megan's not going to pick up, it's forwarding to her voicemail. I can leave a voicemail and it actually gets transcribed in the activity, or I can just decline the call. And again, shows me the entire history. Okay, there are bots and other connectivity tools like I mentioned. For example, if I wanted to call, let's say, Deborah this time, I can just put Deborah and now it'll automatically call her by using the search command. I don't have to go into anything else. Or another kind of command that you can put in here is, if you wanted to change your status, let's say right now my status is available, as you can see. If I wanted to maybe make my status do not disturb, I put that in and now my status has changed to do not disturb. Now, of course, you can go in here and do that. Sometimes you're working on calls and stuff, you want to make some commands, you can do that. You can also just say, hey, listen, I need help with Teams. I have no idea what's going on. Here's a help command. You can get some resources and trainings and things like that over here. You can also do something else. There's a Who bot that you can get, which is great to figure out if there's anyone in, while you're working remotely, it's hard sometimes to communicate with other people that are maybe in other geographies or in their offices or their homes. Obviously, they're working elsewhere. You're not dealing with them in person anymore. So maybe who knows about marketing, right? Or who knows about this project? Who knows about, something like this? And it will actually search all of the content within our team site to say and figure out, okay, well, who knows most about marketing? There's Miriam knows, she's a director of marketing. There's Emily, who's been on a post with marketing or on a team that has a post, and then of course Megan, who's a marketing manager. Now I can click Miriam or anyone else and be able to get data about Miriam and to be able to directly contact her and reach out to her personally. Okay, so these are some of the functionalities. You can also do mentions here. So if you wanted to look for someone else and mention, or maybe know the weather, or anything like that, these are all commands that you can make. And of course, by add the app, you can see the weather and things like that as well, or mention other people as well and be able to reach out to them. And I can text, message her right here, hey, and it sends the message. And if I go into chats, which it's already sent the message, I can view it from here and the message pops up in the chats. So that's what I have for a demo for you guys today. Like I said, we've done some of these trainings for other clients as well. We've done some pretty in-depth trainings around and offered that to our clients to be able to help them not only work from home, but basically strategize something that can help them work remotely and do trainings, and we offer that as an offering. So feel free to reach out to us directly if you need any of that support. If there are any questions right now, I'd love to take them. Otherwise, we will do follow-ups, and you can definitely reach out to us directly for any questions as well.
We do have quite a few questions. I don't know if we'll be able to get to all of them, but I can forward the ones that we don't get to
Sure.
you, and you can get back with them. One question is, we've been using Teams the last few weeks for video calls, but in calls with more than 4 people, we only see 4 video feeds at once. With other participants hidden in the background. Is there a way to have more than 4 video feeds at once, like Zoom?
Right now, no. So if there were to have a lot of, like, let's say you had a lot of people in a group conversation, you would see a very small camera or video camera to have all of those people, kind of show up on that screen, as well as they only show 4 in case, and especially if you screen share, you can't see that stuff. It's all in the background. You see 4 right now of the people that are talking the most. So if those are the active conversations that are happening, and the only 4 come up at this time. I'm not sure if Microsoft Teams will be working to add more video chats when you're doing videos on that.
Great. Do you have time for one more question?
Yep.
Okay, how is the reporting function in Teams? If we do a webinar, we often have to report out individual attendance length to issue CPD points.
Okay, so basically trying to figure out attendance of who's actually attended. So it shows you, obviously people who've accepted or are tentative or cannot make that meeting invite. You are able to print separately the attendance lists and things like that that you can have, as well as if you have meeting minutes and things like that, you can record those on there. However, there are no built-in reporting functionalities that will directly link it to something else that you have set up already.
Okay, thanks, Ziad. I think we're out of time, so I'm going to collect these other questions that we got
Sure.
and forward them to you, so then you can get in touch with people directly.
Sounds great, and I've got my contact details here as well. So if you've got any other questions that you may think of afterwards or while you're working, feel free to reach out, and we will love to help you guys out.
Great, thanks, Ziad.
Bye.